Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Became Avatar the Last Airbender movie. Before we start, please go support God of Hope for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistaken characters' gender, but of course Issei is a male. This is the story of 4 people who changed the world with their incredible abilities and control of the most known elements. Water, land, fire, air. This is the story of the 4 masters. Prologue. Since long ago, when humanity began to enter an era of magic and mysticism, there were 4 powers or forms that caught his attention and fascinated the human being. The 4 elements. These elements were not only characterized by being the best known, but also by being unique in their way. Water. It is the element of change. Those who accept this element are those who are willing to adapt to difficult situations, but at the same time are united because water is flow and feelings. The earth. It is the element of solidity. Those who feel this element are those who persevere in hard times. With determination and firmness they are willing to resist, with the earth being their pillar, obstinacy. The fire. It is the element of power. Those who have this element stop at nothing to get what they want, since they have the determination to fight and achieve what they want, fire being their will. The air. It is the element of freedom. Those who live from this element are not tied down and do not have to depend on others when they are free to wherever destiny takes them, air being joy. These 4 elements are everywhere on the planet, from what we breathe and consume, to what we touch and feel. Everything is related and connected. This is the story of the 4 masters who once appeared, changed both the normal and supernatural world. The coming of the 4 masters is about to arrive. He started. Look at him, he's the orphan boy. Surely his mother abandoned him. It's probably because he looks like a blind crying baby. Crybaby, crybaby, crybaby. What was heard was a little green-haired boy of 4 years old who was sitting on a rock. I heard the taunts of all the kindergarten children, who, as we know, can be cruel if they want to be. One of the advantages of being a blind child was that I couldn't see the mocking faces of those who made me. But I couldn't ignore those joking voices I heard. I already felt like I was about to burst into tears if it weren't for someone. Hey, who are you calling crybaby mommy's boys? The green-haired boy heard the voice of that boy who was always there to help him. He was a 5-year-old boy, with brown hair and almond-colored eyes. Why don't you go and see if the pig has already put it and leave him alone? Let's go, that kid is crazy. Those children left, leaving both of them alone. Izuku, are you okay? I am Issei, although I don't understand why they hate me. They are just idiots. Look at me, I have claw marks on my left cheek and they call me a criminal. Well, I'd tell you those brands are great if I could see them. The brown-haired boy just looked at him with a sharp gaze. You know, those blind jokes are going to get really annoying in the future. But after a few seconds they both laughed like the good friends they are. What are you 2 laughing at? Sister is waiting for us at the orphanage. They both noticed a 5-year-old girl coming towards them. She had long brown hair and brown eyes. Chizuru. Weren't you playing with Haruka? Hello everyone. The 4-year-old girl with pink hair and grayish brown eyes appeared behind the other girl who was smiling happily. I never leave her side, except that we have to return to the orphanage before 6. You're a bit bossy, Chizuru, Issei told her. It's just that of the 4 of us I'm the most mature. Then Chizuru-chan, why do we have to go back there? I've told you many times, Haruka, it's the only place where we can have food and a roof. The 4 children were orphans. They had no parents or relatives to take care of them. But that didn't matter much to them since they met a year ago. They had all become very good friends. They supported each other and did not abandon each other. They became a family together. The orphanage was not a good place to live, but it was still sustainable. Children were adopted. But the 4 children we know were not. Everyone avoided those children for various reasons. Issei is aggressive and even sometimes quarrelsome. Izuku is blind and very quiet. Chizuru is very serious and sometimes even bossy. And Haruka is fun and very cheerful, but they still see her as weird. The 4 of them didn't really care about being adopted as they had lost all hope of that happening. Today would be another night where the 4 of them slept together away from the other children. But Issei did not fall asleep. Since he is always looking out for his friends. For the chestnut, the other 3 children are the only thing he has. And he doesn't want it any other way. He got up to go to the bathroom, which was far away. Damn my luck, I hope this walk is worth it. But when I pass through a door. If so, I have 4 children ready for your market. They have some problems, but they will be ready to be products. The chestnut heard the director's voice. That woman hated children who did not obey, and among them were the 4 outcasts. She humiliated them by telling them their mistakes and why they would never be adopted, even though Issei and Chizuru had gotten into trouble for defending Izuku and Haruka from the mockery and aggression of the witch, as he calls her. He continued listening more. I'll wait for you in 3 days so we can make the deal. Remember that it's 200,000 for the 4. For Issei it was bad. That witch was selling them as merchandise. I'll wait for you and come with the money, bye. The boy stealthily left there without being noticed. He had to talk to his friends tomorrow. You're saying that witch is going to sell us to a drug dealer? It was the brunette who was surprised by that. That's right Chizuru, they're coming for us in 2 days, we have to get out of here. But where will we go? We have nowhere to run. What if we talk to the police? Izuku, they won't believe us, they'll believe that witch before us. Issei Nai, how can we escape? If the orphanage is watched every night. Don't worry Haruka, I have an idea, but we have to do it tonight, we have to have our things ready without anyone noticing, understand guys? Okay. Well today we are leaving this hell. The 4 of them looked at the place, they never liked it there. They definitely won't miss that place very much. It was 10 at night. And all the children were already asleep, but that wasn't entirely true. Issei dressed in normal clothes came out taking a backpack. Izuku, are you ready? The green-haired boy also had his backpack and took the brown-haired boy's hand. I am Issei, let's get out of here. The 2 children silently left the boys' rooms and then went to the girls' room. Which they were already waiting for with their backpacks ready to escape. Okay guys, let's go. The 4 of them sneaked through places in the shadows until they reached what would be the wall. How are we going to get over the wall? At the pink-haired girl's question, Issei took a rope tied to a hook from his backpack and turned it so that it would hook onto the wall. Come on, get in. The 4 of them, with some difficulty, climbed up to cross the wall. They fell into a container that had garbage bags which cushioned their fall. Already leaving the container. Come on, I know where we can go. The 4 of them walked for a few good hours until they reached the limits of the small town where they lived. There was a forest in those limits. Issei, do you want us to go in there? Of course Chizuru, that place will help us hide. But it is the forest of the spirits, several people have disappeared there. Haruka, I know it sounds dangerous, but this is better than us being merchandise of a stranger. Come on friends, I know you are afraid, I am too, but we must not give up. The 3 of them were silent, the truth was that they were afraid of going to that place. But. I'm going with you Issei, I trust you. Thanks Izuku. The other 2 girls were somewhat afraid, but one thing they were sure of was that they could trust Issei. Hence. We will go with you. You have helped us and we do not want to abandon you. Thank you Chizuru, Haruka. But that cleared up, the 3 looked at the forest. Ready for anything. Then taking the first step they entered the forest. Not knowing that this decision would change their lives forever. The journey. The forest was dark and full of sounds of owls and insects. But it wasn't all bad since there were fireflies. The 4 children walked following the chestnut tree that had a lamp in the darkness. He was in front while Chizuru was behind holding the hands of a fearful Haruka and a nervous Izuku. They walked until they reached what would be a path that went up a hill. Come on, let's go this way. They continued uphill, although the green-haired boy stumbled as he tended to crash and hurt himself with stones on the road. When they reached the top of the hill they saw that there was a big tree and in the roots of that tree there was a cave big enough for them to sleep. We can rest here and continue tomorrow. Chizuru, do you think it's safe? Haruka asked. It is, let's go so we can sleep. The 4 of them took some blankets out of their things and used their backpacks as pillows. They slept together as it was cold. It's already dawning. Everyone woke up at the first rays of sunlight. With daylight now, the 4 of them were able to see their surroundings better. The place was surrounded by trees. Well guys, we'll have to continue. Issei, we haven't even been able to eat. Haruka and Izuku's stomachs rumble with hunger. Okay, I'm going to get something to eat, wait here. It won't be necessary, look. The pink-haired girl pointed to a tree where she had apples and there were also more trees that had other fruits. Pears, guavas, mangoes and more. They were all ripe. Issei with the help of Chizuru took those fruits, but something that the brown-haired boy noticed was that there were more trees with fruits of different types. Fruits that did not grow in Japan. That had left him thinking. When he had gathered all the fruit he could, everyone was ready to eat. Hey, I'm going to explore the place, I feel like something strange is happening here. Don't go too far Issei, Chizuru told him. I'm going with you. No, you can't see, you'll get lost, it's better for you to stay here with us. Izuku became depressed when he heard that. There were times when he hated being blind and feeling useless to his friends. I wished I could at least do something. Cheer up Izuku, we can play here. Thanks Haruka. Issei searched all over the place for any anomaly. And he found her. It turns out that only the trees that are planted on the hill have fruits. There were also rocks surrounding the edges of the hill. Issei found this to be even stranger. But he couldn't think any more when he felt the earth begin to shake. The boy watched as the part that wasn't the hill moved. Until he realized something. It's the hill that's moving. He immediately ran straight to the top to warn his friends. When he arrived he saw Chizuru hugging Haruka and Izuku who were trembling with fear. Is this what's going on? The hill is moving, we have to get out of here. Everyone took their things to leave. They walked until they reached the front of the hill and there they noticed a golden vegetation, something very strange. Guys, get off the hill, I'm going to see what it is. Are you crazy? The three of them said to him. I'll catch up with them later. Without further ado he went down to see what was moving the hill. When I was about to get there. Issei. He watched as his friends came down too. What are you doing here? I told you to get off the hill. We are not going to abandon you, Izuku told him. You brought us here and we won't leave without you, Haruka also told him. And stop acting like a hero, there are 4 of us, not just you, Chizuru scolded him. For Issei this was hard to think about. He never thought his friends would hold him in such high regard. I was about to speak when the hill stopped. Then something was heard. Who is on my shell, show yourself now. It was a very deep and not at all human voice that was heard, and to their further amazement, the 4 of them watched as something approached them. It was a huge golden one with claws that stood on the golden vegetation. The signal was clear. I think he wants us to go up. At Haruka's words, the 4 of them, having no other choice, climbed onto that leg with some difficulty, but still managed to do it. That paw moved forward and then what appeared to be a feline face was revealed. Like that of a lion. That's when the older one knew it. The lion turtle. The what? An Issei lion turtle, these are very ancient creatures that are said in ancient China to be sacred. And how do you know that, Chizuru-san? Izuku asked her. I know this because of the book I stole from the library that day, it had information about mythological creatures from China. The creature brought its paw towards the children's face. The little ones were so amazed. It's amazing, right, Izuku? I can't share your opinion, Haruka-san, since I can't see it. I'm sorry, she apologized for getting that detail. The lion turtle looked at them carefully. 4 children, what are they doing lost in the forest and how did they find my shell? Issei, being responsible for everything, decided to speak. Mr. Lion Turtle, we escaped from someone who wanted to sell us as slaves. We walked through this forest and found your shell by accident. If we bother you we will leave and leave you alone, but please do not hurt my friends. If you want someone to pay for an offense, I offer myself. The chestnut got on one knee waiting for a punishment. For the other 3 this was something they did not expect. And for the lion this gave him a smile, his one that won't be noticed. I don't mind people living in my shell, if you have nowhere to go you can stay, but I warn you that I don't stay in the same place for more than 30 sunrises, I travel anywhere in the world without anything stopping me. The 4 of them, upon hearing that, knew that perhaps the lion turtle could go to places where they wanted to go. Do you still want to go with me? Maybe you'll never come back to this place. They looked at each other, well, all 3 of them, since Izuku was listening attentively to everything. It was the opportunity of a lifetime to be free and not be tied to fear or marginalization. So without thinking much about it, we accept. The lion turtle smiled, knowing and having the wisdom of these 4 children was something special. It was fate that led them to meet the wise creature. Then go up and take a last look at what was once your home, because you will not see it again, the journey that you have accepted has begun. The children smiled and then felt the leg move and went straight over their heads so they could take refuge on the shell. They climbed to the top to see the city for the last time. The journey had begun. Here begins the story of the 4 children who were searching for their way in life. The story of the 4 masters. The power. It's been 2 months since they left on the lion turtle and things have changed. They could eat thanks to the fruits that were on the trees and vegetables that were on the ground. But they still lacked clothes and kitchen utensils, so when the lion turtle stopped near a village in South Korea, the 2 brown-haired ones got out to look for what they needed. They had to steal those things, but the need was worth it. In the end no one noticed them, and they returned where Chizuru adjusted the clothes for everyone with thread and needle. Issei built a small hut with wood and also a mud bonfire. He learned all this from a book he stole from a library before his escape from the orphanage. The 4 of them lived happily together, there were some differences, but they knew how to overcome them together. One day after so many days of travel the lion turtle arrived to enter a great country full of culture and mysticism. China. They passed through several unique landscapes and met some people. But what the 4 of them liked most was that China is a place full of martial arts. One day they sneaked in to see a martial arts exhibition. The woman making fluid and balanced movements. The man making firm and strong movements. The man making aggressive and lethal movements. The woman making quick defensive movements. There were 4 martial arts. 4 where they wanted to learn them. Already in the shell of the turtle that continued to move. The 4 of them practiced the movements they learned thanks to those 4 people who taught them something. Then the lion turtle stopped at a place in the mountains. It was a temple where there were Buddhist monks. Great lion turtle, we are honored by your presence in our humble temple, in which we can help you. There are 4 children here who want to learn martial arts. I have seen potential in them, and I want them to be ready for what I have prepared for them. Their wisdom has guided us to peace, Mr. Lion Turtle. If you believe in them, then it is our duty to help you." The Lion Turtle with his paw led the children in front of the monks who could definitely see great potential in them. "Children, here we can train you so that you are ready. Do you want to learn?" They talked to the Lion Turtle before and they agreed. So they nodded, making a sign from apprentice to master. The monk smiled knowing that these children knew what respect is. It all happened in a year. Chizuru learned an art that she wanted to learn. The Tai Chi. This art requires patience and fluidity in movements and actions. For Chizuru, who does not want to fight and only wants to help those she loves, it is an art that had suited her well. The monks were happy because a person who was fluid with his emotions was someone fluid with his decisions and adaptable to circumstances. Issei learned an art that was perfect for him. Shaolin Kung Fu of the North. An art that requires will and power based on attack and aggressive blows. Issei wants to protect his friends, and his desires for power are justified as he doesn't want anything to happen to them. This art was difficult for the monks to teach since the chestnut had to be disciplined for being a lethal art, something they achieved thanks to the will of Issei. Haruka trained in an art that she found fun and free at the same time. The Pakua Chang. An art really based on defense, dodging and evasion. She was a very happy and cheerful girl, so she has no desire to harm anyone. The monks were certain that Haruka was someone who represented what kindness and respect for life is, so this art was truly unique to her. The 3 of them had no problem learning. Except for one. Izuku, thanks to his blindness, could not learn a martial art. But that was solved thanks to a monk who had the same problem as him. Still, this monk taught him 2 martial arts. Hungar Kung Fu. The martial art based on determination and firmness. For Izuku, who was someone very stubborn and who did not like being helped, this was the perfect martial art that requires strength and commitment. His blindness became an advantage because thanks to that monk he was able to see the world in his own way. Sound is something that is present in everyone, and for someone who depends on hearing it is something very welcome. But he secretly learned a martial art called Kung Fu Mantis. In which it was perfect. All this was done at 2 years old because they had to learn that martial arts were not weapons, but extensions of their body and disciplines that they had to respect. In the end, when they achieved their training, they were already different people. They were still children, but they were more mature than any child their age. The Lion Turtle had returned satisfied that the 4 children were already what he expected. Masters. And so they returned to their home, which was the turtle. Another year had passed where they continued practicing, but at the same time when they traveled through Asian countries, they were able to see a side of humanity that they did not want to see. The war. There was a war in Syria. In Palestine and Israel for a mosque. And then they understood that war and conflict were something that had no end. They wanted to stop this. Preventing men from being killed by greedy leaders. Preventing women from becoming widows after losing their husbands. Preventing children from becoming orphans due to the loss of their parents. But they didn't have the power to do anything. It's all about power. Once they stopped at the borders of China and India. On a mountain. The 4 of them meditated, although it was difficult for them. Issei and Chizuru were 8 years old, while Izuku and Haruka were 7. They couldn't do it well because they still had in their minds everything they saw on their trip. All those people suffering for silly things like religion and pride. They felt so helpless and could do nothing to stop these savage and inhuman acts. The chestnut sighed very tensely. "Hey guys, were you able to meditate at all?" "Nothing, Issei, I can't get those moments out of my head." Chizuru was also remembering the whining of those women. "Me too, I wish there weren't those silly wars." Haruka couldn't do it either, remembering the sad looks of those children. "I could feel what was happening. I felt like their heart stopped beating. It was horrible." Izuku, despite not seeing, hearing was very difficult, almost impossible to ignore. The chestnut got up from the ground and just went to a tree and hit it. "I was full of anger." He kept hitting until. "Issei, stop it, you're hurting yourself." Chizuru stopped him. He had tears of rage. He was always a good-hearted person and was always willing to help. Just seeing what human beings become just out of greed and pride was what made him angry. He wanted to help. "Do you want power?" The 4 turned to see the Lion Turtle in front of them. And with due respect they had for him, they bowed with their fist and palm joined together. "Big Lion Turtle, what do you mean by power?" the brown-haired boy asked respectfully. "You have shown me that you are the ones indicated for this power that I want to give you. It was not an accident that you have arrived at my shell, and it was not an accident that you decided to undertake this journey together. The same destiny brought you to me, and now I want to give you the power to fulfill your destiny." "Lord Lion Turtle, what is our destination?" Izuku asked. I don't know yet, but you must discover it, and you will only do so by following the path that your hearts believe is the right one. Once I give you the power, there is no turning back. Even so, are you willing to accept this power that carries with it a responsibility? The four of them looked at each other. They want to help. They want there to be peace. They want there to be no more orphans. They knew their dream was impossible, but they still wanted to do it. Hence, we accept. The lion turtle smiled, being more than proud to know that he had not been wrong about them. Then the path of the masters has begun. Come without fear, so that you can receive the power that you will have throughout your life, and the ability to pass the legacy to those who are worthy of them. Issei was the first to approach, and the lion turtle put two of its claws on his body. One on her forehead and one on her chest. And with these words he said, "The four masters have arrived." And a red light illuminated the place. Their duty had begun. On a news channel there were several reports and critiques. Things have changed in Syria as ISIS was attacked by four unknown people. South Sudan stopped its war thanks to the intervention of four individuals who have not yet been identified. Drug trafficking in Latin America was totally hit thanks to four people. North Korea stopped being a dictatorship thanks to four people. They call themselves the Four Teachers, and the UN is targeting them for them. The United States government declares that the four masters are terrorists who disguise their good deeds with intentions of subduing the free world. Russia and China come to their defense, arguing that they are doing what the big countries do not deign to do. The question would be, who are the four masters really? In a city in Japan. Within mountains and forests. Everyone in that city lived their lives normally. The name of that city was Kao. A school that was previously only for young ladies, everyone entered their classes for another day of learning and studying. This place was about to receive someone else. At the entrance of the same school, four young teenagers were standing there wearing the same uniforms. Is this school? I don't find it very interesting. Issei, remember that it is the only mixed school in the city, and I will not leave you unsupervised, a brown-haired girl told him, looking seriously at the other brown-haired boy. Ijiji, Issei-san is in trouble, a cute pink-haired girl laughed very happily. I think Issei is right, to me he looks ugly, said a green-haired man with a downcast look. Thanks Izuku, thanks, see? He really did. She fell silent as she remembered something. You know Izuku, I think you're cruel for making jokes like that. Since he remembered that the green-haired boy is blind. Something that made both girls laugh. After such a funny moment the four of them entered. Upon arriving at the principal's office, the four were assigned to two different classrooms. Issei and Chizuru in the 2B. Izuku and Haruka in 1A. Of course Izuku got special books for the blind which he could read by touch. The presentations were made. Hello, my name is Kmai Haruka. My name is Midoriya Izuku. We hope you take care of us. For the boys, the pink hair made them pretty and more so with those assets. For the girls, Izuku found it cute and even more so with that distracted look, although some noticed something. So much so that one of them raised her hand. Why are your eyes gray? That's because I'm blind, I can't see. That had surprised everyone, and several even felt sorry for him. But they stopped having it when Haruka said this. And that's why I became his girlfriend who will take care of him forever. Those words, plus a hug and the green-haired boy's face on his assets, made him forget the pity they had for him and instead became a bad envy. Izuku, on the other hand, even though she told him her feelings, he didn't know how to express himself. Although that doesn't stop her from blushing like a tomato, giving smiles and blushes to Haruka, being happy to be Izuku's partner. Aside from all the pranks he'll get up to with it. While among all the students a white-haired girl with yellow eyes looked at both of them with some suspicion. And 2B. My name is Ichinis Chizuru. My name is Haim Issei. Please take care of us. And like the other classmates, Chizuru received lustful glances from the boys who couldn't stop looking at her. Issei received glances from girls and more those who were attracted by the marks on his cheek that were claws. The brown-haired boy didn't like what he saw, and that was that those boys saw his friend as a piece of meat. So he took her by the waist and brought her to him. I'm sorry gentlemen, but this lady is coming with me, so I recommend you stay away from her or you'll get burned. That fierce look had scared several. And let's just say the girls were infatuated with him. Issei, why did you do that? She asked him in whispers. So that they don't bother you, besides it doesn't matter, after all you are my friend, right? What the brown-haired boy didn't know was that deep down his friend was happy about that act, although he was saddened to hear the word friend. Still, she is not discouraged since she wanted to be Issei's partner. If Haruka did it with Izuku, I can too. You will fall at my feet, Issei. These were his thoughts, not knowing that they were being watched by a blonde with green eyes and a brunette with glasses and two braids. At lunchtime, the four of them met up to have lunch together at a place that several girls had recommended to Chizuru. Standing in the shade of a tree. The four of them ate politely as the monks taught them. This looks good on you, Chizuru. I'm going to be jealous of the guy who makes you fall in love. Thank you, Issei, the girl told him, although she blushed because thanks to those words she imagined him and her together. As for the young people. Hey Haruka-san, why is Chizuru-san's heart beating fast? That's because he liked the compliment. Izuku, you should give me a compliment from time to time. Well, since I can't see, I can't tell you how pretty you are, but I really like listening to your voice, it's sweet. The pink-haired girl also blushed. You like my words, Haruka, your heart beats a lot. Come here, my broccoli. She hugged him, putting her face in his assets that she really likes a lot. That the green-haired boy blushes. Feeling desired by him. Between the four of them it was laughter and everything. They were a family. And this moment was going to continue when. Izuku no do Elgo. Someone is spying on us. Izuku's words were true. From a window of the old building someone was watching the group of four. They didn't manage to see who it was except for a few strands of red hair. Something that caught the chestnut's attention. They were planning to investigate, but the bell rang. Then they finished and returned to classes. Although Issei was still wondering who it was and if that person was dangerous. Because he won't let anyone hurt his family. In a room of an old building where someone was watching. She was a girl with red hair and blue eyes. That girl was Rias Gremory, who is considered a popular girl at school. But despite this she is very different from the others. Since she is not human. Still he didn't know why, but he couldn't stop looking at that brown-haired boy. I couldn't stop looking at Issei. Because he was attracted to it despite not feeling any power or anything striking. She didn't know what it was that attracted her to that young man with a fierce and fiery look. Ara, did they catch you? She looked at another girl her age. She had jet black hair tied into a ponytail with an orange ribbon and purple eyes. They almost discovered me, Akeno. It's like they knew I was watching them. Do you want them to be watched? Yes, but very discreetly. Tell Kaneko-chan and Udo-kan to keep their distance, but not to lose sight of them. We still don't know if they are trustworthy. Okay, there is something I must notify you about. The Mayu wants you to be careful, since they are looking for the four masters everywhere to unite them with the demons. I'll be on the lookout. If you don't mind, I'll take a shower. The red-eyed girl took off her clothes and entered the shower, where she let the hot water wet her body, relaxing a little. Even with that relaxation I couldn't stop thinking about that chestnut tree. Who are you? And why do I find you interesting? I want to meet you. What she doesn't know is that maybe her wish can come true. And maybe even more. Devil. It was already time to leave. And the four of them walked along a bridge where they talked, although the pink-haired girl was very close to the strong arm of the green-haired boy. And it helped a lot that of the four he was the shortest. Making Chizuru jealous since she can't do it with the boy she liked. So he decided to distract himself by using his tablet to watch the news. When she saw something. Hey guys, check this out. It is said that there are several reports of missing people in the city. Does it say something about a ransom being requested or something? Issei doesn't say anything, maybe it's something serious. They could be serial criminals like the ones we've dealt with in Hokkaido. Haruka took the green-haired boy's arm further. I think we should investigate to find out what's going on, said Izuku himself, trying to control his blush. Okay guys, let's go home to eat something, and then we'll go investigate where these people were last seen. Let's go. They agreed and went to a house they bought. It wasn't very big, but it was perfect for them, who are simple people. Once inside, Haruka took the green-haired boy to the bathroom, where he told the two brown-haired boys that they were going to bathe together. While Issei and Chizuru went to the kitchen to make dinner. What should we do? Maybe an Issei curry. It should be something simple. Okay, let's cook. And so they both got to work. While in the bathroom, the pink-haired girl was sitting in the tub with the green-haired boy behind her. They both relaxed with the hot water. Haruka, why do I have to take a bath with you? I can do it alone. We have been bathing together for a long time, and I have no problem showing you my body in front of you. After all, you can't see me. But I can hear you, and that doesn't help my male instincts. I know. She turned to face him and approached, touching her forehead with his. Since I knew what it is to fall in love, I realized that I had fallen in love with you. Maybe you don't take it seriously because of what I am, but I am totally honest when I tell you that I love you and I want to be with you. I know you don't trust me, but I'm going to make you trust in what I feel for you. Izuku had remained silent. At times like this I wished I could see to look into her eyes. But I knew Haruka wasn't lying after all. He's someone you can never lie to. Because he always knows when a person is lying. Haruka-san, he delicately touched the pink-haired girl's beautiful face with his hands. For both of them those moments were unique. In the kitchen the brunette wanted to ask Issei something, but she didn't know how. Hence. Nana, Issei, have you ever thought about the future? She asked while cutting some vegetables. What do you mean, Chizuru? He said while grinding some spices. You see, one day I would like to get married and have a family, be happy with the guy who becomes my husband. I see, it must be a good dream, and we will be there to support you." Those words left her with doubt. Well? Well what? He asked. "You don't have any plans?" "Well, the truth is that I don't have any, since all my thoughts are focused on how we are going to follow the plan we have set, although what you told me does cross my mind, but I'm afraid that if he were to have a son, he would go through the same thing as me, an orphan with no one to help him, so I'm sticking with the idea of not having a family." Added saddened the chestnut. She sometimes had dreams and illusions that she could make a family with Issei. Being the parents you never had. And with those words, it was obvious that the brown-haired boy didn't think the same. "Although I might change my mind someday. But I'm just saying nonsense because who would notice me? Or maybe yes. Hey. What about you? I think you'll find someone who likes you, Issei, who knows, maybe she's closer than you think. You know, sometimes I don't understand you, Chizuru." "Well, Issei, understanding a girl is something a boy can't do, I think that's all there is to it." That smile had made the brown-haired boy nervous. So much so that I was already starting to get hot. But he had to control himself to calm down that heat. Chizuru, on the other hand, was happy, as that meant there was still hope to enter her heart. And she wouldn't give up just to be by the side of the boy she loves. Next to Issei. It got dark. And a car arrived at an area of abandoned factories. The car stopped to see the four young men looking at the place that was illuminated by the full moon. "The place is very big, where could we start?" asked the pink-haired girl. "Issei, any idea?" "Izuku, you know what to do." The green-haired boy nodded and then took off his shoes, leaving his bare feet feeling the ground. A few seconds passed in which the blind boy said nothing until he spoke. "I feel something moving in that place." He pointed to a warehouse where he had a worn-out number 12. "Do you know how many there are?" "No, I actually don't know exactly what's there because it's too big to be a human being." Added surprise to three of them. "Okay guys, let's investigate carefully. If things get out of hand we can use that." "Okay." The four of them walked cautiously to that warehouse, and when they opened the metal curtains they only saw darkness. They didn't know what was happening. Until they heard something. Today is my lucky day." Something they didn't know had emerged from the shadows. It was a being that had a huge pangoli body with large claws that were stained with blood. The being had a human face, almost human except for a long thin tongue. That being looked at the four of them with hunger and more at the girls whom he looked at with lust. Something that they noticed and it disgusted them. "Today I'm going to have a good time with those cuties." Instead of just standing there, they were still looking at that being. They noticed something that had its claws covered in blood. It was a human hand. It was more than clear to them what happened. Hence. "Guys, let's do it." They launched an attack. The monster laughed at this and tried to grab the brown-haired boy with one of his claws, but the latter did something he didn't think possible. His fist launched a flame that hit his chest, burning it. "Arg, damn brats, I'll kill you." The creature used its tongue, which tried to catch Issei, but something cut it off. It was a water whip that was controlled by Chizuru's hands and came out of a canteen in her lumbar. Hitch. The monster lunged at her, but a gale blew him away until his back crashed into a pillar. It was Haruka who controlled a current of air that pushed the monster further. "Damn hitches, I'm gonna grape them when I have them in my clutches." "I don't believe it." Without knowing how, some concrete rocks brutally hit the monster, causing it to seriously injure its internal organs. It was Izuku who, with stomps, kicks and pushes, threw rocks that came out of the ground at his will. The monster, after so much punishment, was weak. But it didn't end there. 4 eye stakes were driven into the wrists and stomach. And one in the crotch. Making him suffer more. The 4 of them approached him, looking at him seriously. It was obvious that they were planning to give him a final blow to finish him off. With the chestnut tree facing the monster. Who are you?" "We are the 4 masters." And from his fist he launched fire, finishing off the monster. The last thing that being saw was only fire and then nothing. Dialogues. Rias was impressed. She and the 5 of her peerage went to hunt a stray demon. Imijima Keno as Reina. Kaneko Tauju Tori. Tibayudo's knight. Asia Argento her bishop. And Kiryu Aika his 8-piece pawn. Everyone was ready for what they were going to face. They were going to reach the winery where the devil was last seen. But they were surprised to see an orange light through the windows. They all looked out a window and what they saw left them surprised. The boy creating fire out of nothing. The girl controlling water. Another girl creating air currents. And another boy throwing rocks easily. Those 4 young people controlled elements, and something that Rias noticed as well as Akeno was that they did not use or feel magic in those elements. It was not that they felt something in them that differentiated them from the others. They were totally human. When they saw how the brown-haired boy ended the life of the street demon with a single blow, they were able to understand something. They are the four masters. They were seen celebrating with Issei watching as the corpse burned to ashes. They had nothing more to do with it, so with a signal he told his nobility to withdraw, which they obeyed. But at the time of moving, crack. A piece of glass broke. It was Asia who accidentally stepped on him. And before anything was done, Izuku no Espera. A concrete wall appeared in front of the 6 young men and pushed them past a window that was already broken. Being inside of the four, the demons were recovering from the blow until someone landed in front of them. They only saw bare feet. Who sent them? Izuku spoke with a serious and strict voice. He's trying to imitate Daredevil, said Chizuru. When Izuku does that my heart skips a beat, it's so sweet, Haruka said happily. I can hear you, Izuku told them so they wouldn't talk. He approached slowly and with his earth control, he took a piece of concrete and effortlessly shattered it with his hand. Causing fear in some and more in Asia who took refuge in Ica. If you don't tell me who sent them, I'm going to have to. Enough. The fireball ended behind the demons and it was Issei who was serious. Go away, Izuku, he ordered. I just wanted to imitate Daredevil once. As he walked away, Issei looked seriously at everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, hello, my colleague forgot to say, please, so would you like to tell me who sent you, please? Rias was now nervous. She didn't know if she and her group could fight them. So with a signal and great speed, she formed a magic circle for her and her nobility to escape. Something that Izuku could notice and was going to stop them, but it was too late. They escaped. Where are they? I don't feel like they're here anymore. Izuku disappeared. What? That's impossible, no one can disappear out of nowhere, he replied to Haruka. They used something like a glowing circle to escape. It seemed like it was magic or something, Chizuru analyzed while storing her water in her canteen. Issei was silent, looking at where they were before. Then sigh. Well, tomorrow we will know what happened, for now we have to go home and rest. They agreed, so they left the place and returned to the car to go home. Although the brown-haired boy couldn't stop thinking about that red-haired girl. That night, for the first time, they encountered the supernatural. The next day the four of them went to school, entering their classes. Of course, they couldn't miss the glances of everyone who was envious of them, but they didn't care about that. The classes were normal except that they had the look of those who saw that night. The day passed. And when they were about to leave, Kyoto Issei. They turned to see 3 of their classmates. Can I help you with something? But she wants to talk to you, come with us, Aika said seriously. The 4 of them were not sure of those words. Who assures us that there will be no trap for us? Asked Chizuru. Simple, we will give you all the answers to what happened last night, just come. The 3 looked at their leader, Issei, and he said yes with his gaze. To which they, being alert, accompanied their companions. They walked until they reached the old building and entered to go to one of the rooms. Aika knocked on the door, where with approval they were able to enter. The 4 young men could see that everyone was there, and so were the members of the student council. Among them Sona Citri, who looked seriously at the 4. They took seats in front of Rias and Sona, who had a keno, and the vice president of the council, Shinra Tsubaki. The keno served them tea, which they accepted, although of course they did not let their guard down. After a few minutes Rias spoke. What are you? We are just normal people, Issei replied. Normal people can't control the elements, so tell the truth, what are you? Sona spoke coldly to the 4 of them. We came here for answers, not to answer questions, Chizuru answered equally coldly. Calm down everyone, how about we avoid unnecessary fights and talk? Haruka said, trying to calm things down. I agree with your partner, last night I saw the power they have, and I think I owe them answers for what happened. I'll be honest, ask me whatever you want. This was said by the Redeed, who had no intention of fighting or starting a conflict. Something that Issei saw with good eyes. Thanks for suggesting that, Rias Gremory, it's a pleasure. The pleasure is mine, Gremory-san, he greeted the girl with his fist in his hand. Something that made her blush a little at such a display of humility, as did Akeno, as they noticed one thing. He never looked at them the way men usually look at them, even though they always got those looks. Ahem, if we already cleared this up, I think we should ask first to finish this, if you don't mind. It was the brunette who had a tone of jealousy in her voice. Since he didn't like how Issei was respectful to that Redeed. To which the brown-haired boy calmed down and asked. What was that thing that my companions and I killed that night? A stray demon. When they abandon their masters they tend to become monsters and are always hungry for human flesh. After that question the 3 of them looked at Izuku for a few seconds until he nodded. How did they disappear just like that? Asked Chizuru. We used magic, which allows us to do many things. We teleported here that night. They looked back at Izuku and he nodded. Issei was going to ask a question that needed to be asked. Who are you really, or better yet, what are you? There was a moment of silence. The Redeed was meditating, thinking whether to tell them the truth or lie to them so that everything would be safe. But he gave his word. So. We are demons, we are in charge of the city to protect it as we can. At this they looked at Izuku once more. To which he agreed. Well, now I would like you to answer some questions if you don't mind. Now the quartet was nervous as they had no plans that they would have to reveal who they are. But they still gave their word. Forward. With Issei's approval, Rias spoke. Well, I'll be direct, are you the four masters? To say that they weren't expecting that question would be a lie. What they didn't expect was that they would be so direct. So they answered honestly. Yes, we are before you are the four masters. You are in the crosshairs of NATO and several other organizations. Millions of people consider you heroes, even though the United States government declared you terrorists. Sona's words bothered the quartet a little. Since one of the reasons why they disappeared from the map was the constant attacks they received from the countries that obeyed the gringo government. We disappeared so they would stop looking for us. If they think we are going to harm their city, we will not bother them. It's not that, it's that our leaders are also alert to your movements, they want to talk to you. At Ria's words, they couldn't believe it since they didn't expect someone to want to talk instead of demanding as if they were superior. Although they still had their distrust. Can we trust you? Izuku asked. We know what you have done around the world, you did things that no one dared to do, you stopped wars and helped countries to free themselves from dictatorships, in the eyes of more than half the world you are heroes. That had surprised them. That is why I offer them to stay in Kao. Although I don't feel safe, I can understand your situation, so I also offer you to stay in Kao. At Rias and Sona's words there was silence in the quartet. Of course they had plans to stay, but now that they know that this city was in the care of demons they had to accept to avoid problems. It was already a lot that they found Kao for several, since it was the perfect place to hide from NATO. Hence. We accept. Well, we welcome you to Kao. Thank you Gremory-san, we appreciate your hospitality. He stood up to bow like all martial arts masters. To which she was very happy because if the situation goes well, she could have good allies, and although she knows that they will not accept, she hoped that they would be part of her nobility. Especially the Fire Master. It was already thought that it was going to end, but. I have one last question and it's for your green-haired partner. Why didn't you look at us when we asked and why don't you do it now? You know it's rude, right? She scolded him as if he were a child. To which the green-haired boy laughed in amusement, which annoyed the girl with glasses. What are you laughing at? You should respect me and look at me when I talk to you. Telling a blind boy to take a look at you now, that makes sense. Huh? She leaned down and could see his eyes to see what was true. He was blind. It's impossible. If Rias showed me how you manipulated the earth, how can a blind person do that? That had really angered the Earth Master. Excuse me, miss, but I don't have to answer. Now you have nothing else to tell me, have a nice day. He stood up and then left. At first glance it seemed like nothing happened, but it was the opposite with the teachers. Great, now he'll be angry, thank you very much President, for his offensive comment. Haruka was upset with Sona and got up to go after Izuku. Honestly, Sona felt stupid for saying those things to him, especially for that offense to her blindness. While outside, the green-haired boy lifted some dirt to make a seat and wait for his companions. One of the things he hated was that many people looked down on him for his blindness. He was perhaps the first earthbender and a hero in the eyes of many. Why did he have to pretend to be someone who needs help even to walk? Izuku, are you okay? She had arrived sitting next to him. It bothers me, Haruka-san, I hate that everyone thinks I'm weak. You know we have to keep our identities hidden from NATO. Izuku, they are looking for us to be their weapons, it is for the good of both of us that we must do it. I know. You know that if those NATO dogs hurt you, I would dare to go and kill them. That would happen to me if something happened to you. Cheer up, just a few years and we'll have a peaceful life together. She took his hand to intertwine her fingers in his. Blushing, the green-haired boy a little. Maybe the world sees him as a useless person. But he knows he can count on his friends and Haruka. And nothing is going to change that. While at the door, Sona herself was watching everything. She wanted to apologize for what she said, but she left instead. There will be time to do that. Although he doesn't deny it, Izuku despite his disability is someone to be feared, and that. It was something that caught Sona's attention a lot. That afternoon things had calmed down for both groups. The question would be. What adventures await the teachers? Misunderstandings. After the meeting things had calmed down in both groups. The quartet of masters used to meet with the demons for some things, and also among themselves, they organized to go hunting for stray demons, in which thanks to their elemental powers, it was easier. Rias often talked to Issei about some things, and he could see that the brown-haired boy was a born leader. Now she watched from the window as Master Fire himself enjoyed his break with his friends. There were days where she was getting to know him and talking to him about his adventures in the world. But what surprised him and attracted him the most was seeing him training his firebending. She was looking for Issei, who had asked her to use one of the old building's grounds to train and wanted to bring him something to drink. But when he found him, he saw him shirtless and flexing his arms and chest. With each punch, kick, spin and more, he managed to throw flames of fire. That art and discipline he had when executing his movements were elegant. Then she stopped and saw him doing something that in her eyes was more elegant and powerful. Their movements were aggressive, lethal, accurate, but they did not lose their elegance. Every movement he made, she imagined an Eastern dragon attacking in sync with the blow. And at the end, from his hands and mouth a flame of fire emerged. Like the roar of a mighty dragon. A very powerful and untamable dragon. The dragon that she wants to have. Since that day she had not stopped thinking about him. Many times she wanted to get close to him, unfortunately there was always someone who stood in the way. It was Shizuru, who was always with Issei. One of her excuses was that she was always watching over him in case his firebending got out of control. Although that is just a perfect alibi to keep her away from him. As he tries to demonstrate his dominance. Rias found this ridiculous since she was not the brunette's partner, so she had no right to prevent him from talking to her. Still, he won't give up. Since Rias is not stubborn for nothing. Now we see Izuku, who was sitting in sportswear. Since they were involved in sports activities and since I had to follow an invalid role, I couldn't do anything. That was what frustrated the green-haired boy. If you can't see, you're useless. This is how society treats the disabled. I will make them swallow their words one day when they know that a blind man saved the world. He kept thinking, but he felt someone approaching. What are you doing here, Kaichu? How can I help you? Behind him was Sona, who took the opportunity that he was alone so she could talk to him and apologize. I would like to apologize for what I said that day. There was a very tense silence for her since the green-haired boy did not respond. But Creo Kaichu. That had surprised him. Wait, what? Just like that. I can tell when someone is lying by their heartbeat and the tone of their voice. You are being honest with me. That had surprised the black-haired girl even more. So he spoke to her. How do you do it? The what? That of feeling the heartbeat, the voice, even that control of the earth. He hadn't responded for a few seconds. He just signaled with his right hand to the council president to sit next to him. She, having some doubts, accepted and sat down. I am able to feel the vibrations of the earth and my hearing is somewhat acute, which makes up for my lack of vision. Like a mole. Something like that. My connection with the earth helps me see things that others can't notice, from the 6 turn that my companions make to the ants on the ground. He pointed to a place where there were ants removing dirt from an anthill. Persona, it was incredible and at the same time admirable since she has an idea of the difficulties that Izuku had to go through to be what he is. He was a definition of the word perseverance. Although he noticed something. His face was a little dirty from the ground. So he took out a handkerchief and wiped his face a little. Wait, what are you doing? I just cleaned you up a little since you're dirty and they look at you in a bad way. Even though he wanted to stop her, he actually allowed her to do it because he wanted to calm her down. By the time he finished, Izuku's face was cleaner, so much so that you could see the freckles on his cheeks that were lined up in a diamond shape. Giving a tender touch to the eyes of the Arisitri. He lowered the hand she had on her chin and lowered his gaze. Thanks, Kaichu, but that wasn't necessary. Being clean helps your image, Midoriya-san. I know, but one of the advantages of being blind is that I don't worry about my appearance. I don't care how I look because I don't need anyone's approval. I know very well who I am. She could tell that Izuku's voice was strained, filled with pain. He knows that the life of a blind person is not easy at all. And even more so a boy as persevering as Izuku. Aside from that, girls don't find a blind guy attractive. I'm glad Haruka likes me, but there are times when I feel like she deserves someone better, someone who can see her, and not a blind man who will never be able to tell her how beautiful she is. Midoriya. He stood up and with his arm he wiped his eyes from which tears were beginning to flow. But it doesn't matter, I'm an earthbender and I must endure what life throws at me. I'll endure it as always. See you, Kaichu. He walked away from her. Leaving her with many questions that had no answers. Izuku is a unique boy who now, although he appeared somewhat weak, stood firm and knew how to suppress those feelings of helplessness he had. Now you see him leave. Sona was not a girl of emotions. She was always analytical and cold with almost everyone she meets because she is an heiress of one of the most important families in Underworld. Apart from the fact that being the younger sister of the male Leviathan added more pressure to her life and more expectations than many nobles expect from her. He always thought he could handle anything and he could swallow that frustration easily. But since she met Izuku, she knew that her life is a walk in the park compared to what the green-haired boy experiences every day. Being someone who society expects absolutely nothing from you is even worse than having significant expectations. You practically do not exist for society. And if someone is interested in you, they would only look at you with pity, which is even worse. Sona looked at the ground, sadly, something she doesn't usually do. Midoriya, I know what you're going through and what you're going to suffer if you keep going like this. He knows that at the rate Izuku is going he will end up alone. Another day, and after classes Rias had 2 cans of water. I was already ready to talk to him, not as leaders of their respective teams. If not as teenagers. She came to the field and saw him there. Training with those powerful movements. It was a unique spectacle to see him move like a master. And now that Chizuru is gone, it was his chance. It's time to get to know you better, Issei. She approached slowly. Issei continued training without noticing that someone was approaching. She was only 2 meters away. But when he spoke. Issei. Who are you? A wave-shaped flame was launched directly at her, which did not allow her to react in time. Ah. She put her hands out in front of her by inertia in an attempt to create a magic shield, but the fire was faster. His hands were seriously burned. They were second-degree burns, and the burning was so bad that he knelt on the ground. Issei's eyes widened as he saw what he had done. But the worst thing was that 3 members of the Redeed's entourage saw what happened. Rias, are you okay? She was unresponsive because of the pain. But this was going to get worse when. Rias, forgive me, 5. He couldn't finish because he felt a blow to his face. It was an angry Kaneko who hit him. The force of the blow threw him away. He was about to get up when, unable to do anything with his palms, he avoided the tip of a sword from Kiba, who was also angry. You burned Butchu and you're going to pay for it. Stupid Loli snapped her fingers, ready to beat the brown-haired boy up. Ara, someone needs to be taught a lesson for playing with fire. The queen had a cold look, but at the same time her smile was totally sadistic. Issei wanted to explain what happened, but Kiba created another sword and stabbed him in the right shoulder. The cry of pain. That scream was enough for Rias to react and see what they were doing. Stop now, I shouted, but apparently they didn't listen. Issei writhed in pain. He couldn't defend himself because he didn't want to hurt them. Just when Kaneko and Akeno were going to attack, out of nowhere their bodies were covered in ice, immobilizing them. And a peak of rock that came out of the ground, hitting the knight away from the chestnut tree. They were his friends who had come to help him. Issei Chizuru immediately used water on her hands to heal the wound on her shoulder. Can you tell me what's going on? The green-haired boy demanded, very angry at what he had felt. Their friend burned Butchu, Kiba said coldly while holding his side. Issei, already healed from his wound, sat on the ground. The truth is that he felt guilty for what happened since he had a hard time controlling the fire. And now he hurt someone when he should have avoided that at all costs. So he got up and ran straight into the forest. Rias, who was watching everything, stood up. It's my fault, I came closer and accidentally burned myself with his fire. Added surprise to 3 attackers, and when they realized it was an accident, they felt like real idiots for misinterpreting everything. All for acting without stopping to think. Chizuru, on the other hand, lowered her gaze upon hearing that. Did you come closer? When I told you 2 damn times that it was dangerous for you to do so. Answer, she yelled, now angry with the Redeed. I didn't mean for this to happen, But you did it anyway, this is all your fault. Chizuru. Izuku yelled at her to get the waterbender's attention, which worked. Now is not the time to fight, we must help Issei. She growled, knowing the earthbender was right. So he defrosted the 2 pieces, and with that water he used his control to wrap it around the Redeed's hands, and a greenish-blue light shone, and the burns healed. Rias looked at her hands in amazement and then looked at the brunette. Listen very carefully, spoiled princess, maybe we are allies and work together, but we are not your friends, so you better not get close to Issei again, or I swear I won't be so merciful to you. We are masters, and we don't need friends. After that she, along with Izuku and Haruka, went straight to find Issei. But Rias was now devastated. I just wanted to talk to him and get to know him better, but everything went to shit. And he doesn't know if he can fix it. While in the teacher's house someone entered the door. Well, I see you're not here, anyway, I'll wait for you with a relaxing jasmine tea. That person went to the kitchen where he turned on a kettle and proceeded to make tea for 5 people. While waiting I looked at the fire in the stove. I looked at him calmly. I hope my children have made friends like I told them and will stop saving the world for a while. After all, it doesn't matter what happened. The kettle steamed and that person smiled wider. The world will not stop turning. It is not known who that person is. But it will influence the lives of teachers as well as those of several others. Good advice. The 3 young men were looking for the chestnut tree in the forest. They fear that this will affect the pressure that he already has. When they arrived at the location of the chestnut tree, they could see that in fact an entire area of 50 meters was burned. And in the middle was Issei, who was just sitting on the ground with his gaze down. Izuku and Haruka put out the fire with earth and air. As Chizuru approached him and saw that his hands up to the elbow were burned. She knows that the brown-haired boy tends to burn himself when he feels guilty about something, so she cured him with her waterbending. Issei, everything is fine, it was just an accident. What happened? It was my fault, Chizuru, I should have paid attention to what I was doing and who was around me. But Issei, she was. You know very well that this is not the first time this has happened, you also got burned because of me, and Izuku too. How can I call myself a master if I can't control an element as destructive as fire? How can I protect them if I can hurt them by carelessness? Izuku and Haruka, who had already finished putting out the fire, listened to everything the brown-haired boy said. For Issei, having the most dangerous element of all and the pressure of being the leader of the group was difficult for him. They know it, in fact they feel that Issei blamed himself for having to hide like rats, thanks to the fact that the United States along with the other lackey governments were looking for them. For Issei it felt like there was no way out. That they would have to live hidden from the world forever. In the club room. Everyone was gathered together and it seemed that no one was talking. Hiba, Kaneko and Akeno wanted to apologize for what they did. They let themselves be carried away by anger instead of stopping to think about what was happening. Now they felt like they lost someone who could have been their friend. Aika and Asia tried to cheer them up, but to no avail. But the most devastated was Rias, who was in her desk chair. He kept looking at his hands. Still keeping in mind the words of the Watermaster. He wished he had thought things through better and not been carried away by his selfish desires. Thanks to that she lost the opportunity to be friends with that boy. The club door would have been allowed to pass to Sona along with her queen. Rias, I heard what happened, how are you? Iridid barely paid attention to her surroundings. His chest hurt. It even hurt him to see the guilty look on the firemaster's face. Take the night. At those words, everyone in the magic circles had retreated since their minds were not really focused. So it was best to go and rest. The Arisitri also asked her queen to also withdraw since she noticed how she was worried about the Gremory night. But only Rias and Sona remained. Iridid began to shed tears of helplessness and pain. She just wanted to meet a guy who sees her as she is, a young girl who wants love in her life. Is it too much to ask? Unfortunately, fate seems not to want it that way. I ruined everything, Sona. Rias, that's not true, maybe they're angry but. It was a mistake to try to be his friends and it was a big mistake on my part to think that Issei was the boy who could help me with my problem, but now I realize that I can't escape my horrible destiny. Rias, tell me one thing, you fall in love with him? Iridid didn't say anything, in fact she couldn't say anything with the sadness she felt. That doesn't matter anymore, Sona, I'll have to accept the idea that everyone is going to decide for me, even who I'm going to give my first time to. Rias, you can't give up. I know things are worse now, but you can't lose hope. Out of nowhere something had happened. The magic circle had appeared and in it was a silver-haired woman dressed as a maid. They both knew who he was and his gaze did not bode well. You're wrong, Sona, I've already abandoned hope, the only thing I have left is to accept my destiny, she said to her friend with eyes that had no sparkle of life. Oju-sama, your parents wish to speak with you, it is time for you to fulfill your commitment. She got up, but not before taking a photo of her desk. It was a photo of the brown-haired boy who was smiling at his friends. She wanted to receive those beautiful smiles too, but now it's too late. He had only to accept his horrible fate. The destiny imposed by others. Now the four of them walked calmly towards their house. There was a very heavy silence between them which no one wanted to break. Their spirits were really beginning to falter as their good wishes to help the world by stopping conflicts have led them to having to live a life of fugitives. They were actually already thinking about giving up everything. Forget the world and live your lives away from problems. It wasn't right to run away and leave aside everything they had set out to do, but they didn't know what to do anymore. When they were already 20 meters from their residence. Izuku stopped. Something the three teachers noticed. Aizu-chan, what's wrong? Haruka asked him. Someone is in our house, someone I know. That had alerted Issei and Chizuru. Can you tell who it is? Chizuru asked, being alert. I think it suddenly his eyes widened and he started to smile at her. Without waiting, the green-haired boy began to run straight to the house. Izuku waited, Issei shouted at him, but apparently he didn't hear him. So the others followed him. When the green-haired boy entered the house he stopped. Ara. Izuku, how are you? For the Earth Master that voice was like a relief from his problems. Tamiya. He rushed to hug her with small tears in his eyes and the woman comforted him a little by putting a hand on his head. Then when the others arrived they were also surprised. Chizuru and Haruka couldn't help but cry when they saw her. And Mia. They both rushed to hug her and she happily received them. My children, I haven't seen you for 2 years and look at you, you are already young people. For the woman and the three young people it was a moment of happiness. Well, only one didn't join the hug. Something Mia noticed. Issei, aren't you going to give me my hug? The brown-haired boy looked at the ground but sighed and obeyed, giving his aunt a hug. Hello, Aunt Mia. I think you've grown a lot, my boy, but I also see that your mind is very confused. Do you want to tell me what's bothering you? How bad is everything? He did not speak. In fact, all four of them had lowered gazes. That bad? Yes, that bad was the response of the four. Hours passed and Mia prepared a delicious dinner that everyone could enjoy. After dinner they were able to talk, telling their aunt about everything they had been through and the people they had met. But they also had to tell him what happened. In my opinion, even though that Rias was careless, they were both at fault. It was just a mistake and something that couldn't be avoided. They had remained silent upon hearing that. Having guilt and more Chizuru since she literally broke the friendship that was forming with them. You should talk to them so that you can be at peace. From what I've been told, they are the closest thing to friends you've had in your lives as elemental masters. But you feel ashamed, right, Chizuru? The four of them nodded without looking at her, so she just took a teapot and poured tea for the four of them. A relaxing jasmine tea. You have no shame, but pride, and pride is not the opposite but the source. Then he poured himself some tea and calmly drank a little. The cure is pure humility, it is the only antidote to shame. The scent of jasmine reached the young people's noses, and thanks to the woman's words, they had a clearer mind. That was what they loved about Mia Asami, she always had advice for everything and was willing to guide them in the right direction. If you want, I'll go with you tomorrow to help you, but whatever you say must come from the heart. They smiled. Thank you, Aunt Mia. Well, go to sleep so you have energy tomorrow. They obeyed and went to their rooms, although Issei would like to talk to you, please. The chestnut had to stay. The remaining three, unable to do anything, went to sleep while Mia served the brown-haired boy another cup of tea. Tell me one thing, Issei, and I want you to answer me with the truth. What do you want me to tell you, Aunt? I want to know, what relationship do you have with that girl called Rias? He blushed a little at the mention of her. That girl who had caught his attention. That girl who had attracted him because of her confidence and elegance. But above all, for being attentive to him and understanding him, since both know the burden they have to deal with as leaders of their respective teams. They both understood each other. They both understood. Both were the moral pillars of their companions. That's why when she saw that her own fire hurt her friend's hands, she felt horrible because she had to use her power to protect those who matter most to her. Not to hurt them. Now he fears that she will see him with hatred for causing her pain, and the truth is that he does not want to see her like that. Yes, Aunt Mia, I like her, but it doesn't matter anymore because she surely won't want to see me. And how do you know? She asked. Because I hurt her and I'm sure she hates me now. He slammed his forehead on the table as he really felt like a fool. The woman just smiled and poured more tea for the teenager. Take it. He drank that tea and thanks to its aroma he relaxed a little. Issei, if you go through life thinking about things that haven't happened yet, you're only going to experience failures and waste time. We are beings who have transitory lives. After you, your children will follow, and then your children's children. So there's no point in worrying. But it's impossible for me not to worry. Using his fire control, he heated the tea to the point that the cup broke, worrying the brown-haired boy even more. I'm sorry. Instead of the little girl, I just looked at what was left of the cup, but I didn't have any worries about that. Something he noticed. How can you not worry, Aunt? I broke your favorite cup, the one you gave me 2 years ago. That's what I wanted to show you about worry. I don't understand you, Aunt. If a problem can be solved, it is not worth worrying about, but if that problem has no solution, worrying about it is pointless. He looked at the pieces of the cup on the table. They were beyond repair, or could they be overcome by Izuku's earth control, since they were ceramic? But it was true, he didn't have to worry. Issei felt the woman's delicate hands on his shoulders as she looked at him fondly. Don't worry, Issei, about what you've done wrong and strive for what you can still do right. He took her hand on his shoulder. Thanks, Aunt Mia, I don't know what I would do without you. Whenever you want, my child, I will always be there for you and others. I will always watch over you. That night Issei understood that despite all his worries he can always overcome them, or in this case, not give them much importance. After all, life is only one and you have to live it. The next day was a Saturday. The four teachers, accompanied by Mia, went to the club building where they had every intention of fixing the misunderstanding and returning to peace with the demons. When they arrived they opened the door and saw the rest of the Gremory nobility, but Rias was not there. The demons, realizing who had entered, were surprised since they did not expect him to come or return. Guys, what's up? Issei-kun. Ikeno, Kaneko and Kiba stood in front and bowed in apology as they knew the mistake they had made. Forgive us, Issei-kun, we hurt you when it was all an accident. I know you hate us, and we understand, but we. The three of them did not expect that the brown-haired man would hug them kindly. I was forgiving them. Issei-kun, how can you forgive us after what we did to you? Kiba said, not believing what the brown-haired boy was doing. I forgive you because I know that you were worried and feared that I had damaged Rias irreversibly, which I understand. Apart from that, I know that you are sorry. Senpai Kaneko said when she saw him smiling at them. I was also afraid that they would hate me and not want to see me, but in the end my worries were in vain. Issei-kun, thank you for forgiving us, we promise that we will be there to help you in whatever you need. You don't have to do it, guys. Knowing that we are friends makes me happy to know that. Those three demons were now happy. Happy to know that the friendship with the chestnut tree had not been broken but was still strong in them. The other teachers were happy for the brown-haired boy and to know that things were still going well despite the misunderstanding. For Mia, this was good as it showed that one of her children was maturing. Soon they were going to have to become stronger to overcome the adversities that life would throw at them. By the way, where is Rias? And this was one that was going to start. The demons lowered their gaze upon hearing that, since they know what happened. Something that the young masters did not like. Hey, tell me where Rias is she okay? Issei-kun, she won't be back, tomorrow is her engagement party. The Keno's words were like a bucket of cold water on the chestnut tree. The girl who likes to get married. That married? Maybe Issei felt his heartache. It's not what you think, Issei-kun, she is engaged against her will, all by order of the demonic council of elders, said the bearer of the red dragon. Hearing that, it made him a little happy, but it had also made him angry. Since he hates people being treated like objects or being forced against their will. He had an idea, a crazy idea. But it was very risky and could get him and his friends into more trouble. He looked at them. Don't make that stupid face, we're going to help you anyway, so stop acting like you're suffering, Izuku told him in his own way. Rias was good to us, and I think helping her is the least we can do, Haruko also said, smiling. The brown-haired boy looked at Chizuru. Despite having a grudge against the deed, she knew that a marriage without love is a real torture in which the words love comes with time are of no use, which is ridiculous. Hence. Issei, I will help you in everything you decide, we are your family, and the same family does not abandon each other. Thanks, Chizuru. He looked at the Gremory nobility. Is there a way to get to the underworld? I'm keeping it, Issei. Aika gave the brown-haired boy an invitation from her skirt bag. But this, you can go to the engagement party, which is all you need, and you can bring guests. We leave Butchu's fate in your hands, but please, Issei, save her from the horrible fate that is imposed on her. He looked at the invitation with determination. I promise you on my honor that I will save Aika, guys, I will not fail you. Now Issei had a goal to accomplish and someone to save. The four teachers smiled, knowing that what is coming will be exciting. And Mia just hoped that her children could resist. But she is sure of one thing. The underworld will know what the four masters are capable of. Who are you? The long-awaited day had arrived. The day of the engagement party. For the patriarchs, this was an opportunity to further unite the Gremory and Phoenix families. For the elders of the council, this was an opportunity to have a demon born with the power of destruction and regeneration, turning it into a weapon they can mold to their liking. But for Rias, this was the beginning of a life of pain and humiliation. Her fiancé was a damn arrogant pushover who believed that the weak have no right to anything but a pathetic death. He doesn't love her at all, he just wants her status and her body, which she knows. He hates all this. He hates having to do what some old people and his parents dictate to him, and all for a cheap excuse like for the good of the underworld, when it was his own happiness that they sacrificed. Now she had to obey against her will. She was prepared with a beautiful white dress which was very pretty. So much so that the maids praised her. But she wasn't listening. After all, her mind was thinking about someone. Issei. That's how it is. I was thinking about the chestnut master Fire. She wanted him to be her fiancé. That he was the person with whom I could marry. In her mind and heart he would be the perfect man. But she will never see him again. After all, she has to give herself to that arrogant man on her wedding night. She just wanted Issei to forgive her for not being able to be there to see him accomplish his goal of changing the world for the better. Not being able to tell him that you love him and want to be with him. Not being able to see that dream of forming a family where it is the two of them with a child who is training to be a great fire master like his father. Not being able to be with him until life ends. Issei. She looked at her hands where the brown-haired boy had accidentally burned her. She wished that her last memory of him hadn't been like that. Forgive me, please forgive me. Tears were streaming from her eyes and her makeup was running. She didn't give a shit about his engagement party, she just wanted to see him and tell him how much she loves him. Not knowing that he is on his way. The party was about to begin, in which everyone was present. The patriarchs and matriarchs of both demonic families. The council elders who had a satisfied smile. Various guests. Among them the heir of the Bale King family who came to support his cousin. The heiress of the Agares family who is also Ria's friend, just like Sona, only they had to go their separate ways. And without forgetting Sona herself along with her queen who came to support Rias and the Gremory nobility who were also there. "I'm sorry this is happening guys, I wish we could help you." They just smiled. "What's wrong? Don't you feel worried? Your mistress is in trouble?" he asked. Sarajevo was puzzled. "We are not, because something is going to happen soon," said Kiba, smiling. "What do you mean?" asked Sikvera, who was curious about what the Gremory Knight said. "Yufu, you will know," said the sadistic queen. They were going to ask more, but the party started. In a high place the fiancé appeared dressed in a white tuxedo. He was blonde with blue eyes and an arrogant smile adorning his face, feeling like a winner and owner of everything. "Good evening everyone, thank you for coming to my engagement party which will soon see the Phoenix and Gremory families join together, and to start this party I present to you my future wife, the Crimson Queen Rias Gremory, who will soon be Rias Phoenix." From a circle next to her, in a vortex of fire, Rias herself appeared with a white wedding dress that was beautiful to many, and a bouquet of orange flowers. But she didn't have any smile on her face which annoyed some, even her parents, but she wasn't going to give them the pleasure. After all, this is against his will. Razor cared little that she didn't even look at him, but he didn't care. Already on the wedding night he thought of taming her so that she would be a perfect wife worthy of Razor. "And now that my future wife is here, I'm starting this party." Pam. Razor couldn't finish speaking as a loud noise was heard. The large doors of the place had opened. Everyone didn't know what was happening except for a few. The guards, who were middle-class demons, prepared spears and tridents ready to defend the place. You couldn't see who it was at the entrance because of the dust. But once it dissipated, something happened. The 10 guards, without knowing how, were sunk into the ground up to their heads. Then more appeared and launched an attack with their wings, however something else happened. The gale pushed them so hard that they hit a wall and fell unconscious. Then 5 of those who remained were there, but these were already afraid. However, they did nothing as a large amount of water came out and went straight to them, and then it froze abruptly, and the water in the form of a whip cut the spears and tridents. Nobody understood what was happening or what was attacking them. But footsteps were heard. And 4 people were entering. These people had robes of different colors with hoods covering their eyes. One was forest green. Another era was royal blue. The dark gray era. And the last one was scarlet red. These 4 guys were facing the demons without showing their identities. "Who are you? Don't you know whose party you're ruining? Don't hide, you cowards." There was silence regarding the claim of the 3rd son of the Phoenix family. But then all 3 looked at the one in the scarlet robe, and he nodded. They put their hands on their hoods and removed them, revealing their faces. It was them. "Who is hiding?" the brown-haired boy said seriously to the blonde. "Who are you?" asked one of the council elders. "We are the 4 masters and we came here for someone," Izuku spoke sharply, making the elders angry. "We're coming for Rias Gremory," Haruka said. "And we won't leave until she comes with us," Chizuru finished. This puzzled everyone, especially the Gremory patriarchs. "Issei, what are you doing?" Rias shouted, now very worried about what could happen to them. "Let's get you out of here. Rias will free you and return to Kao. I won't let your happiness be lost by being next to an arrogant idiot." "You shouldn't have come, Issei, my fate is sealed, there's nothing I can do now." Rias, Issei said, surprised. "I've already lost hope since I found out that no matter what I do I'll never be able to change my destiny. I'm condemned to have everyone decide for me. I have no say for everyone, I'm just a bargaining chip," which both demonic families reinforced eyes. "I tried to be happy at least meeting someone who loves me as I am, and I almost achieved it with you, but that accident was solid proof that I can't escape from this destiny that has been imposed on me. It doesn't matter if my heart beats for you, it doesn't matter if you feel something for me. Even if I wanted to, I'll never be able to be with you." For the brown-haired boy this did not sound good. The girl who was beginning to feel strong feelings was now resigned and no longer had any spirit to fight. "Ahahahahaha." The same arrogant blonde laughed at the brown-haired boy's face. "You just came here in vain, you idiot. Do you think that with just words of encouragement and a confection of feelings you could achieve something? Just look at her." The Redeed's face was one that no longer had any motivation or something that makes her cling to life. "Her spirit has been gone for a long time, she is empty and hopeless, ready to be my wife because she has accepted the destiny set by the Honorable Demonic Council, but you still believe in her, how sweet of you. Understand you failed." The brown-haired boy did not stop looking at the Redeed, who had tears in her eyes because of the pain she feels and the helplessness. "You're wrong." The voice was heard from the doors. It was Mia, who was wearing a black and gray outfit. "Who are you?" "My name doesn't matter, but what does matter is that the destiny of a girl is at stake here and she has not been allowed to decide for herself." "Surzich's Sama do something?" one of the council elders asked the Mau. But he didn't listen. "I don't know you, but I can see inside you that you really love my boy, he is willing to fight for you." She walked over to the chestnut tree. He just fights in vain, there is nothing that can be done, this is my destiny. Is this your destiny? Or is it the destiny that others have tried to impose on you? Please, madam, don't complicate things any further, you have to leave now, the heiress asked her. I beg you, Rias Gremory, on behalf of my child, it's time for you to look inside yourself and start asking yourself these two big questions. Who are you? And what do you want? He said, making the Redeed lower her gaze. There was a silence. I've had enough of this now, we're going to kill them here and… Razor couldn't finish speaking when he saw how his fiancée threw the bouquet to the ground angrily and got down from where she was. Rias, where are you going? Come back here. She did not obey Razor. Gremory heiress, please return to your place, it's an order from the council. She didn't listen to the advice. Rias, obey and return to your place. She did not listen to her father. I'm Rias, a girl who wants to be recognized for who I am and not for who they tell me I should be, and what I want is to be happy with who I love. She ran straight to Issei and threw herself into his arms, and he received her without hesitation. It was obvious that he would no longer follow the destiny that the underworld itself had imposed on him. He will follow his own. Issei, forgive me for everything. I don't say anything, Rias, what matters is that you are with me and I will protect you, I promise. She pressed her forehead against his because she was so happy to know that the firebender forgave her. For Razor, this was a total humiliation to his person. And I was not going to forgive this. In a fit of rage, he threw a flame of fire directly at the couple to burn them to ashes. Issei, seeing that, put Rias behind him and joining his palms, he opened them so that the same fire of the phoenix would divide and disappear. This left the phoenix family stunned, as no one has been able to control the demonic fire of a phoenix other than a phoenix itself. Issei glared at the blonde. You dare to attack a woman just because she decided what she wanted? Where is your honor, you piece of shit? He yelled at her. My honor was stained thanks to that hitch who rejected me, now she is going to pay for this offense, said the blonde, showing some wings of fire on his back. Issei got into a combat stance ready to fight along with his master friends who stood by his side. This was going to get out of hand. But that's enough. Someone stopped the moment. It was a red-haired man who, accompanied by the same maid and a young girl with black hair tied in pigtails, had stopped everything. I have seen enough and now it is my duty to stop this discussion. Sirziches, what are you planning to do? You're supposed to stop your sister from tarnishing the name of the Gremory family. Rias will not tarnish the name of the Gremory family if her hand is legitimately won by another father suitor, besides I want to see what the leader of the group who has done great deeds is capable of. The Mayu then looked at Issei. Tell me, leader of the four masters, are you willing to fight for my sister's hand, even if it costs you your life? I swore to bring Rias back home for my honor, I'm not afraid of dying because I know I will win, and it's not because I'm fighting for myself, I'm fighting for my friends and for the girl I love. Rias, who was behind Issei, couldn't help but cry when she knew that the brown-haired boy was willing to fight for her. Those who knew Rias were happy. But Chizuru had something else on her mind. Well, if so, I ask everyone to make room, because this will be a battle between the third son of the Phoenix family and the leader of the four masters. They were both looking at each other as a sign that they would not give in. The battle between fire users is about to begin. Fire versus fire. It was a square that had the space of a football field. Issei was on one side while Razor was on the other. They looked at each other seriously. Everyone at the engagement party was in a large box protected by invisible barriers that protected it from stray attacks. Rias and her peerage along with Sona, Tsubaki, Sarah and Sakura Gares were on one side of the box that Izuku along with Haruka and Chizuru were guarding as Razor's maids were looking at them as if they wanted to retaliate. Mia, who was enjoying a cup of red tea courtesy of Himeu, was with Rias since the same parents of the Redeed and the elders of the council planned to claim him, but the same cold gaze of the woman stopped them from their intentions. The battle was about to begin. The arrogant blonde took off his white jacket, burning it as if it were of no importance. Issei turned around and got on one knee. Something that puzzled everyone. What are you doing? Sakura asked. He's concentrating, he must calm down and be ready to fight, Chizuru said seriously. He takes this seriously, Izuku said that he felt his friend's heart through the vibrations. He was calm and collected but somewhat anxious. Since this would be the first time I would fight someone who uses fire. Issei then stood up and turned to face his opponent as the Firemaster's robe fell to the ground. Showing before the eyes of the spectators the body of a young man who has trained almost all his life. One full of strength but also marked with burns and scars from past battles. So much so that it could not be ignored by the female audience. He got into a combat stance with his guard up. The phoenix just scoffed. This will end quickly. And in the middle of the field a gun appeared which was dreamed by a demon. Issei remained serious and waited for his opponent to make the first move. A few seconds passed in which the two did nothing. Until the blonde spoke. "You know, I wanted to let you show off a little so that your defeat wouldn't be so humiliating, but since you don't want to start, I'll do it in finish so I can celebrate my victory with a woman who will be my wife." He threw a fireball at him that headed towards the chestnut tree. But he dodges it as if it were nothing. Something that bothered the blonde. He threw 2 more fireballs at him, but he also dodged them masterfully. This now angered the Phoenix as he was expecting an easy victory. "What do you want to play with, huh? Let's see if you can dodge this." He launched 5 fireballs on the spot to which Issei dodged 3. But when he saw that 2 were coming, he just crouched down, sliding along the ground, bending his knees and watching how those flames passed over him. Issei approached Razor, he thought he was just going to hit him, and that was it, but it was the opposite. He kicked him in the chin and then turned to kick him in the pit of his stomach, sending him flying. Razor was honestly hurt by those kicks. "I never expected that. Damn, how dare you touch me. If you're going to fight properly then do it, don't waste my time." For Razor that was a total insult. So he got up now angry. "I'll show you who's wasting your time." He lit his hands on fire and brought them together to make a bigger flame, throwing it. Issei, seeing the size of that flame, knew that now the Phoenix had become angry. But he knows what to do, he just threw himself to the ground and started spinning like a break dancer, to which his feet expelled fire, and with more force he stopped Razor's attack. This left the demons stunned as they did not expect that boy to be able to create fire. It was one thing to control it, but creating it that way was very strange if magic wasn't used, and Issei doesn't use magic. Issei, now standing, looked at the blonde who was starting to get angrier. Anger was blinding him. "Is there something wrong, Razor? Why are you suddenly attacking me like that? Is the fact that all your attacks are useless causing you to lose control? Shut up, you are nothing to me. All your attacks are just one shot, there is no creativity or control of your flames, really you have no self-control." Razor was very angry at those words. "I'm going to burn that damn tongue you have, damn human." He, like a madman, threw ball after ball in the occasional flame. But Issei not only dodged but also deflected or dissipated the flames. Until he got fed up. "If you only know how to throw flames hoping to see one reach your opponent, then you are wasting your time. I already let you do your thing, now it's my turn. You can't do anything." The brown-haired boy took a deep breath and then jumped with his foot that lit up in flames, creating a flame in the shape of a half-moon, and this flame went straight to the Phoenix, who also did not expect something like that. He managed to evade that attack. But then Issei launched punches in which flames came out of them and managed to hit the Phoenix, burning it. And finally, a kick launched by him produced a flame that hit the blonde in the face, causing him to hit a wall. Razor got up painfully, even though his own flames were healing him, the pain was much. He looked at the brown-haired boy with total hatred. Damn. With his wings of fire he took flight to a height where he thought the teenager would not reach him. "My advantage is in the air now, what will you do, disgusting human?" He threw several fireballs at which Issei jumped backwards as the flames burned the floor, but he didn't expect the following. Issei jumped and from the soles of his feet a powerful flame-like propulsion came out of it, as well as his fists. Issei was flying like a rocket. He headed towards Razor at high speed, dodging his fire and being in front of him. What advantage? He gave him a flaming kick that seriously hurt Razor. This one with a pain on his face was sent crashing to the ground, cracking it. Issei went down to the ground looking seriously at a blonde who was trying to stand up. While in the box all the demons were in total shock since that human was beating Razor without any difficulty. Who is that human? That human is humiliating us by beating Razor. We must do something. That's what the elders of the council said. As for the patriarchs of both families, they were more than impressed to see so much skill in that human. Lord Phoenix could tell that the brown-haired boy did not use his fire as a weapon or just an element, but as an extension of himself. He looked at his daughter who did not miss any detail of the fight, not only because she was worried about her brother, but also because she was interested in the mastery that the brown-haired boy had over fire. While on the master's side the young demons did not know what to say to that. Sakvara never thought that the teenager could do such a thing, especially against Razor, who was a demon who had won several matches with other demons. Sarah watched the brown-haired boy. He, being a demon who loves fighting, had a good eye to identify a warrior and knew that he is more than just a warrior. He is a master. Northern Shaolin Kung Fu. You have a good eye. The Belair looked at Mia, who told him that while drinking another cup of red tea. It is a martial art based on attack. She watched as Issei threw more punches in which fire came out of them, hurting the blonde more who could do little in the face of such brutality. This martial art leaves defense behind to concentrate on lethality and dominance. Issei knew how to couple his element in the art he learned, thus managing to create firebending every time he fights. It is a total spectacle, a martial art that in my eyes is elegant but deadly. Everyone listening to that could not be against what the woman said because it was true. Issei is a really elegant warrior. Returning to the battle, our fire master was literally crushing Razor, since no matter what the Phoenix does, Issei always manages to overcome him. In the fire. In the blows. In the technique. In creativity. He was far superior to him, perhaps too much. That last attack the Phoenix received, and now he was already tired. His fire was fueled by his magic power level and was already running out. And the worst thing was that his wounds were healing. The brown-haired boy approached the blonde, and as they closed their hands something happened that left the Phoenix stunned. The fire that healed Razor went out, leaving him to bleed for the first time in his life. He felt what humans usually feel when faced with injuries. A real pain. He writhed, trying to stop that horrible feeling. What have you done to me? I am able to produce fire and also control it without touching the flame, but I am also able to put it out if I want. He was still writhing in pain now with tears in his eyes. Issei, having a little mercy on them, opened his hands, letting the Phoenix flames return to continue healing. All the Phoenix, seeing what happened and what the brown-haired boy can do, gave them a real fear that they had never felt in their lives, and more so a certain daughter of the Phoenix. Issei kept looking at Razor. I thought I could fight against someone who could really test my skills, but I was very disappointed with you. Your flames can easily surpass mine, but you don't know how to take advantage of them. Everyone listened to what the chestnut said. You don't even know how to throw a punch, you have no discipline or self-control, and to top it off you can't stand the pain of a burn without your healing flames. The blonde looked at Issei, listening to everything he was saying to him. I am a pious person, so for your own good and that of your family who is watching you, keep the little honor you have and surrender. Learn from this defeat, so that in the future you come back stronger and we face each other again. For Razor there was no longer any judgment. All he felt now was utter humiliation and deep hatred towards the Fire Master. He humiliated him. He embarrassed him. He took the woman who rightfully belonged to him. And to top it all off, he speaks to him as if he were a person of wisdom and humility, when humans should serve demons as the useless people they are. He was filled with anger and total rage that at this moment he no longer cared about winning. He no longer cared about getting his wife back. He no longer cared about his family. All he wanted was to burn the Fire Master to ashes. I wanted to kill him. You are nobody to say those damn words to me. He stood up and with total fury his wings of fire reappeared. Then he rose into the air and with a raised hand a ball of fire began to form. But what Issei noticed, just like everyone else, was that the fireball was growing in size. I will finish you for this humiliation you did to me. Rias will be mine every night, so much that I will break her completely. This will be your punishment for insulting the great Razor Phoenix. Ani-sama, don't do it, that blonde girl told him. Son, stop now, his mother told him. Razor, enough already, his father ordered him. While on the master's side. Issei screamed as she saw that huge ball of fire that kept growing bigger. Razor lost his mind. We have to get his friend out of there, Suriarg shouted, now fearing to see a tragic end for his cousin's boyfriend. Calm down, everything is under control, said Izuku, still feeling Issei. Issei is not our leader just because Haruka, who was next to Izuku, was the one who said that. Making Sona a little jealous. He will not be defeated by someone who does not respect fire or life. He is Issei Hyodo, and he has the dream of making a better world for everyone. At Chizuru's words, everyone looked at the brown-haired boy who was still looking at Razor. Now the look was one of pure disappointment at seeing what the Phoenix was doing. I didn't want to get to this point, Razor, but you leave me no choice. What happened next was something that will remain in the minds of all who witnessed the battle. Inclusive to Akeno. And that from Issei's hand some blue flashes were forming, and he moved his hands, in which the flashes were concentrated on the tips of the middle and index fingers. For the eyes of the demons, Issei showed a dance of flashes. Prepare to die, dirty human, die by the heat of my flames. He threw the huge sphere of fire which was going somewhat slowly. Issei, without any fear and with the coldness of a fox. He threw from his fingers what many demons could see. A real ray. The lightning pierced the sphere of fire like an arrow towards the smoke, causing the sphere to dissipate, as if nothing had happened, releasing the heat. As for the lightning, it continued on its way until it reached its target friend. Razor. Ani-sama. The lightning struck the target. And Razor was suffering not only from the powerful discharge, but also from the horrible wound that was in his chest. And without being able to do anything, a very strong explosion occurred. So much so that those in the box were scared, but Izuku created walls of solid rock to protect them from the shock wave. When Izuku finished, he removed the walls, and everyone saw that from the cloud of black smoke came a Razor that was falling. He fell to the ground, all wounded and paralyzed by such electrical power. The truth is that with this it was obvious who really won this fight. But something was happening. Issei did the lightning again, this time to finish it. No, please stop. That girl, daughter of the Phoenix family, stood in the middle. Daughter, the woman screamed when she saw that she could get hurt or worse. Issei, still having the lightning ready, looked at that girl with seriousness and pure lethality. She was really afraid of that human who defeated her brother, and the truth is that her common sense told her to get out of where she was. But he didn't want to lose his brother. She watched as he prepared to fire his lightning bolt, which she closed her eyes in terror, hoping it wouldn't hurt. However, the lightning bolt passed by until it hit a wall, which was destroyed in a surprising way. She opened her eyes, seeing that she was still alive. Issei approached her, and when he was in front of the girl, he asked her, "What's your name?" "Soy Ravel Phoenix." The brown-haired boy raised his hand, and out of fear she closed her eyes again, waiting for an end, but she only felt how her head was touched in a soft and understanding way by the fire master. "You are a very brave person for wanting to protect your brother from an attack that could have killed you. I hope that everything you have heard in this fight will help you to be someone better than you, brother." She did not understand. Before, the boy in front of her eyes appeared as a lethal warrior, now he appears as a kind and sweet boy. So much so that a blush appeared on her cheeks. "Take your brother to get treated now that the fight is over, and tell him that next time we see each other, he should be a better person." With that, he turned around to go get his tunic and return home to his friends. But he watched as the red-haired girl used her wings to go and take that robe. Both of them smiled as they approached each other, since everything was over. They could go home now. Not knowing or noticing that Razor stood up. Ani saw more relaxation. He pushed his sister aside, and with what fire he had left, he attacked the brown-haired boy from behind. "Issei, be careful." He felt the heat of the flames approaching. "I wasn't going to be able to stop him. Although it wasn't necessary, since someone did it for him." The wave of air put out the fire and sent Razor back to where he was. It was Mia who covered the chestnut's back. The Phoenix family stood before Razor, and the fire master literally wanted to make Razor pay for hurting his sister like that. Damn coward. Issei was now angry, but the little-haired girl got in the way. "No, Issei, don't dirty your victory," he said as he stopped the brown-haired boy with the handle of his sword, since he wanted to kill him for attacking like that. A complete lack of honor. She looked at the Phoenix patriarch seriously. This is how the third son of the Phoenix family reacts to defeat. Shameful. Razor glared at the woman. "Even my child, who is a fugitive in the human world, is more honorable than you." Then he looked at the Phoenix family. "I hope your son understands that defeat is not a sign of weakness, but rather a means to grow and be better both in life and in the future." The patriarch said nothing except bowing, not only an apology for the offense and lack of honor of their son. The woman looked at the box where the red-haired Mao was. "Mao, I hope there is no problem." Issei Hyodo won fair and square, so my sister's hand now belongs to him, and there is no discussion. He said it clearly, so that the elders of the council could not reply. "Thank you, and I appreciate the tea, it was delicious." But that she looked at Issei, and thanks to that, the Redeed, now being the happiest she has ever been in her life, hugged Issei, and he returned the hug. "Oh, I forgot." Mia took out a seal from her clothes which she left on the ground, and from it a very powerful creature was summoned. The tap. Dead on the Issei. Issei didn't understand, but he didn't complain at all. He took Rias as a princess and jumped onto the faucet, and then looked at his master friends and his companions. "See you at the club, guys. Don't fall down because I'd miss seeing you look like a fried egg. If you can't see broccoli head." "That's true." Then, with laughter from everyone, the winged creature took flight and disappeared into the horizon. The young people were happy to see that love triumphed. But a chestnut, despite smiling, a tear came out of one of her eyes. It really hurt her to see the boy she loves with another woman. Dezuru felt a hand on her shoulder, which was Mia's. "Calm down, my girl, you'll see that things will get better." "And how do you know that, Aunt Mia?" "Because a heart as big as Issei's can't be for just one person, a heart like that must be for more." The chestnut looked down and then looked back at the horizon. It was true that Issei had a big heart. And now he had to earn his place. Even if he has to show a certain Redeed who's boss. While at the tap, both young people enjoyed the wind on their faces. "Issei, thank you for saving me, thank you for letting me meet you, thank you for everything." "You have nothing to thank Rias for, I promised to bring you back and I kept my promise on my honor." After that she looked down. "What are you doing? You know that after this there will be others who will try to go for my hand. I fear now that you will get hurt." "Hey, there may be some who can fight me or even beat me, but one thing is certain." He took her cheek and looked into her eyes. "I will continue fighting until the end, until my fire goes out, because you are Rias, the girl who chose to love me." Now Rias, looking at him, only had one wish. "I hope it will not be repressed anymore." She took him by the cheeks and kissed him on the lips. After the kiss, they both looked at each other. "That was my first kiss, something special in a girl, and giving it to you was very special." Issei came to his senses and answered Rias. It was a great honor to receive such a gift from you, Rias. And then together now with their hands joined and their fingers intertwined, they continue to look at the night panorama of the underworld. Now having a future ahead of us. There may be challenges awaiting them and their friends. But they were going to overcome this together. Character introduction. Issei Hyodo. He is a 16-year-old boy with brown hair and almond gold eyes. His personality is very passionate, he has a strong will that fights for what he wants, but at the same time is honorable. Since he considers that there is no greater honor than to die and live for those he loves and cares about the most, although he tends to feel guilty if he hurt someone without that intention. His tastes are training, but at the same time he likes to socialize with others, things like spicy and meat dishes like yakitori. He hates arrogant people and those who do not respect innocent life, which is why he is willing to take justice into his own hands if necessary. His dream is to stop conflicts and stop the powerful who only seek to destabilize other countries, apart from the fact that he wants to be the father he never had. A world of real peace where everyone sees each other as human beings and not as enemies. He is the first fire master. Izuku Midoriya. He is a 15-year-old boy, which makes him the youngest of the four, with black hair with hints of green, freckles on his diamond-shaped cheeks, and gray eyes due to his blindness since birth. His personality is one of perseverance, he doesn't mind fighting if it's to protect others, although of course he tends to feel helpless for not being able to do things that others can do, like reading and writing. Even so, he tries hard so that his friends don't worry about him, showing that anyone who wants to achieve something can do it if they set their mind to it. His tastes are the same as Issei's. Training, although he is not usually sociable because he does not want to be friends with someone who might consider him useless. Music of all kinds calms his mind, even the most popular songs. His favorite food is katsudon. He also hates arrogant people, but especially those who have such a high ego that they believe they are the center of the universe, so much so that they care little about the lives of others. His dream is for everyone to see that a blind man, someone who was useless to society, managed to change the world, apart from the fact that he wants to have the family he never had. He is the first Earthbender. Chizuru Ichinis. The 17-year-old girl with long brown hair and caramel-colored eyes that always show her feelings. Her personality is that of a mature and responsible girl who took on the role of the older sister of the four. She is the emotional pillar and is willing to help her friends by striving to keep them together no matter what happens. She is not afraid to express what she thinks, but when it comes to her feelings and desires for a certain firebender, she fears rejection from him. Her tastes are the practice of her movements both in combat and healing, which make her a vital piece in every battle, also meditation and swimming being more in the water. Her favorite food is seaweed miso. She hates those she doesn't trust or doesn't want to trust because of their past that isn't known much like the other three, but hers seems to be something serious, apart from the fact that she doesn't tolerate any girl trying to seduce the brown-haired boy since she is very possessive. His dream is more of a goal, although you will know that in the next chapters, but another dream is to get married and be happy with the person he loves. She is the first waterbender. Haruka Kami. She is a 16-year-old girl with pink hair and dark gray eyes that show the innocence of a pure young teenager, although she is not. Her personality is that of a cheerful girl who always enjoys the little things, whether it's playing or just wasting time, although she always worries about that green-haired earthbender, since, being more open with her desires, she fully admits that she is selfish, and if it were up to her, Izuku would not be allowed to have friends. His tastes are flying and having fun at any time apart from making Izuku blush, which he loves, and also making jokes to those who deserve that little mischief from him. His favorite food is tofu, since he is not very attracted to meat. He hates conflict and seeing sadness in others, as he wants to see joy on a child's face, rather than pleasure and satisfaction in a cruel man, apart from the fact that he totally hates NATO, because they are the ones responsible for his family having to hide like rats, which is why he will not hesitate to kill them if he has the opportunity. Her dream is to live that feeling that the monks of the temple told her she should not have, which is to live the love she feels for broccoli, although thanks to this, she will not be able to be more powerful, but she will show them that she can without giving up her love and her sweet dream of being a happy woman married to Izuku and having her children. She is the first airbender. Miya Asami. She is a young-looking woman with purple hair. Her personality is that of a mature and wise woman who always has advice for everything, but at the same time when she gets angry without knowing how a dark aura and a Hanyu mask appear to terrify whoever is responsible. Her tastes are her children, whom she sees as her children, although they call her aunt. She is also a tea lover, even to the point of being a connoisseur of exotic flavors. He hates closed-minded people because in his opinion traditions that affect someone in their life are traditions that are not worth following. She doesn't have a dream or goal, except to see her children grow up and wait for what destiny has in store for her, but what she does want is to see her children happy with their own children and to be their grandmother. She is a counselor and aunt of the four masters. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.